I'm Indy Neidell, and this is The Great War on the Road. Now today, we filmed a couple of special episodes here in the Deutsche Panzer Museum in Munster. That's the German Panzer Museum in Munster. Not Münster, Munster. And we've been talking with Ralf Ratz, the director of the museum, about the A7V and about the LK2, but armored vehicles were not just tanks, right?
Correct.
During the war.
Yeah.
And now, for example, this thing behind me, can you tell us what it is and what we know about it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful German word. It's the Schutzpolizei Sonderwagen.
Schutzpolizei what?
Sonderwagen.
Uh-huh.
Meaning normal police, special car.
Okay.
And what you got here is basically an armored car like the Brits used in great numbers. And it's in the Panzer Museum for two reasons. First of all, the armored car is normally the link between the cavalry and the tanks.
Okay.
At some point, nearly every state had armored cars and tried to get their cavalry from the horses onto the armored cars and later oftentimes in the tanks. So that's the first point.
Yeah.
Second point is, after the First World War, the Germans were forbidden to have any tanks.
Oh, okay, sure.
But the polices, plural, the polices in Germany were allowed to have these police cars, which were basically armored cars for war because they didn't have any water cannons on it. They had machine guns on it, 2 machine guns.
Okay, so this would be, okay.
So these were officially designated for riot control and, so to say, leftist control, explicitly. But then again, the Reichswehr, the German army, had a very concrete library of which car was where.
Okay.
And in case war had broken out during the Weimar Republic, the Reichswehr would have immediately gathered these vehicles, took it and used it on the front.
Okay.
So it is a police car, but at the same time it's our army car for the Weimar Republic. Yes.
Okay.
And it's very interesting looking at the design because you have these steep walls like on a German police car with water cannons on it, so that demonstrators can't climb upon.
Right.
But then again, you have machine guns on top of it, which tells you a lot about the political climate in the Weimar Republic.
Can we back up to during the war?
Yes.
Now, what was going on with Germany and armored cars during the war?
The Germans don't have this fascinating story like the British have with their cars on the Western Front. The Germans more or less had 20 to 40 cars in action, mostly on the different parts of the Eastern Front, because there you have the terrain, you have the ranges, and you have the duty for these cars, especially security, securing perimeters, securing the backwards areas sometimes, and reconnaissance.
Okay.
For these, they were used and with very good, sometimes mixed results, but basically very good. And there is one big action in Romania. When the Germans fought with Romania, there's this so-called Iron Gate.
Yeah.
That's a geographical point at the River Danube where they wanted to cross. The Romanians knew that, so they defended it fiercely and successfully. And the Germans started to make one of their famous encirclements to go around on the flank.
Right.
For that case, they gathered lorries and put infantry on it. They gathered anti-aircraft guns on lorries. They even gathered some horse reconnaissance units. And then they made a big swoop around the flanks of the Romanian field positions and attacked from behind.
Yeah.
And what we wonder is if and how these cars, or the predecessors of this model, the armored cars, were involved. We don't know, because it's a very obscure point of this. We heard that some of the armored cars were involved in this operation, but we don't know for sure. But that's the one big operation where these cars could have been used.
Well, hang on a second. We have a bunch of, sorry to interrupt, but we have a bunch of Romanian fans, and perhaps one or many of those may actually know something about this action that we don't know. And if you do, Flo, they can get hold of you, right?
Yes.
Please get hold of Flo. You can write it in the comments, but if you get hold of Flo, you can tell him all kinds of stuff, and I'll bring you pizza. I will. I'll go to Romania with I'll bring them pizza.
And you get free tickets from us.
But not if it's like 50 guys, in which case you have to get together for the pizza. Yeah, and you get free tickets for them too.
Of course.
Right. Of course. That's a good deal. Okay. One thing that Flo was actually screaming about before, I don't know if you heard, is that this has wooden spokes.
Yeah.
And why is that? Is it just a sign of the times, or?
Actually, yes, it's nothing spectacular. It's just, it worked.
Okay.
It was cheap. And since you don't have much kilometers to run with this thing, because the police operations are in very close quarters, so to say, it was just a workable replacement for the more expensive resources you have to use normally for the wheels. It just worked.
Okay, that's cool.
Sometimes the explanation is not so spectacular.
Yeah, but sometimes it is. So
Sometimes it is.
We'll always try.
Yeah, for example, the history of this thing especially is very interesting because the lower part was on a scrapyard. The upper part was on another scrapyard. And one collector saw by chance both parts on both scrapyards, combined it in his head, bought both, and loaned it to us. And how are the chances?
They're not. That's pretty impressive.
And
that's very cool.
It's often that the stories around the object are the most interesting. The upper part was laying in the scrapyard during the Second World War.
Okay. Oh.
And the Soviet forced laborers working there used it as a makeshift shelter during the Allied air raids. So not only the model is war history, even the actual parts of war history.
The whole thing's got history. That's fascinating.
Indeed it is.
Well, there are hundreds of stories like that we would love to one day find out. I'm sure everybody would like to know that out there. But there are exactly 140 vehicles here in the Deutsche Panzer Museum. And when you come here, you can check them all out. You might even be able to talk to Ralph. And you should definitely check out their YouTube channel. There's a link to it below. It's in German, but it's going to be awesome anyway because it's going to be great visuals and stuff. Ralph, thank you very much once again. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. If you'd like to see our episode about the German LK2 and other German ideas for tanks that did not see active service in the war, you can click right here for that, even though it's blocking Ralph. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.